A lot of people absolutely love general knowledge quizzes or like quiz nights. It's a chance to share interesting facts and maybe show off a little in front of their friends, all while having a great time. And hey, not in a Sheldon Cooper kind of way, just to be clear. Then, of course, you've got those folks who are obsessed with weird or honestly, downright terrifying facts. They actually revel in reading about all the bizarre ways people can die without even realizing it. It's almost like they're gleeful when they recite the statistics of some of the most terrifying disasters out there. Oh, and they really enjoy your reaction when they tell you things like, your cat will eat you if you die at home, or that your dog just loves murdering those squeaky toys. So, if you're not one of those people, and you really don't want to hear about horrifying, terrifying, insomnia-inducing facts, you might want to look away now. Number 10. Moon dust can slice the inside of your throat. If you dream of, having your own 11 minutes of space fame and becoming a sort of pseudo-astronaut, you should probably go anywhere but the moon. Obviously, you can't get to the moon in 11 minutes, but you get what I mean. Apollo 17 astronaut Harrison Schmitt was probably questioning his life choices after breathing in moon dust during a lunar walk back in 1972. The moon dust caused this prolonged pain in his throat. His eyes just wouldn't stop watering, and he sneezed like non-stop. This whole incident led to a bunch of scientific studies, and one of them, published in 2018, revealed that even one scoop of moon dust can kill 90% of brain cells and lung tissue exposed to it. Moon dust is nothing like the dust you find here on Earth. It's mostly the result of micrometeorite impacts, making it super sharp and highly abrasive. And since there's no wind on the moon, lunar dust never erodes. So, if you end up breathing in these sharp particles, they can literally slice the inside of your throat and even your lung cells. And if that's not scary enough for you, just remember, shadows on the moon are way darker than they are here on Earth. That means you won't see what's about to attack you until it's way too late. Number 9. A Roman museum collects evidence of souls in purgatory. Most people who aren't religious, honestly, don't really give hell or purgatory a second thought as they go about their lives. But for those who are religious, the concept is taken extremely seriously. Catholics, for example, believe that souls get stuck in purgatory until they atone for their sins. However, if their loved ones keep praying for them, they can reach heaven a lot faster. The Museum of the Holy Souls in Purgatory actually stores several Bibles, scraps of clothing, and prayer books that it claims have been burned or singed by the hands of those suffering in purgatory. These handprints are believed to come from burning souls begging their loved ones to keep praying, and pray even harder. The whole idea of purgatory comes from a story told by a monk to Abbot Odilo of Cluny. On his way back from the Holy Land, this monk's ship was wrecked, and he ended up stranded on a small island. There he met a hermit who told him about a chasm where flames burned and the screams of souls kept tearing through the air. The hermit also told the monk that the demons stoking the flames would complain about losing the screaming souls whenever their loved ones prayed hard back on earth. So, because of all this, All Souls Day was established. A day when the living could pray for the souls of their deceased loved ones to get into heaven. The prayers are made for those who died without forgiveness and for babies who were never baptized. These prayers are meant to prevent these souls from going to hell, which, as you probably know, is a place from which there is no escape. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki are, still counted as some of the most tragic events in history. Those who were in the path of the nuclear bombs basically had their shadows imprinted exactly where they stood or sat. It's honestly terrifying to think about, but the people who died were there 1 second, and then, they just weren't. All that remains is the space they occupied, the spot where they blocked the intense light and heat from the explosions. The force of the bomb actually bleached everything around them. These so-called shadows aren't the remains of the victims, but really just unbleached spots in the shape and size of their bodies. Researchers have even compared the bombs to these giant cameras that instantly preserved the outline of their victims the moment they died. Some of these eerie preservations disappeared over time because of wind and water erosion. Others, however, have been removed and are now kept in the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum. One of the most famous is called the Human Shadow of Death, and it's believed to be the shadow of someone who was sitting right at the entrance of the Sumitomo Bank in Hiroshima when the bomb was dropped. Thousands of people are murdered in the United States every single year. The homicide rate spiked in 2020, and It's been going down since then, but the numbers are still in the thousands, which is both terrifying and honestly unacceptable. Even 5 years before that spike, police were already saying they were losing the fight against crime. They actually said that if you're murdered in the United States, there's a 1 in 3 chance your killer will never be found. The national clearance rate for homicide in 2015 was just 64.1% compared to 90% 50 years earlier. In 2015, it was also estimated that there were about 200,000 unsolved murders, some going all the way back to the 1960s. So yeah, that also means killers have a 40% chance of just getting away with their terrible crimes. In 2023, it was reported that the murder clearance rate hit a new low. At the same time, the homicide rate spiked in 2020, and the clearance rate reportedly dropped below 50%. In big cities, it was even lower, in the mid-30% range. While some predict that 2025 could see the lowest murder rate on record in the United States, it still doesn't guarantee that if you're murdered here, the police will actually find your killer. When you're sick, you'll do pretty much anything to feel better, right? Well, a long time ago, people thought the same way, but they really took things to the extreme. And honestly, it all happened because of a lost in translation situation. Back in the Middle Ages, Islamic medicine used something called mumia, which we now know is bitumen, basically asphalt. So people were actually eating asphalt because they thought it would cure their illnesses. Mumia was also a thing in Europe, but in Latin, the name got changed to mumia. Since Latin was spoken all over Europe back then, things got confusing. When knights and soldiers went to the Middle East during the Crusades and got hurt, they asked the locals for medicine. They got mumia. But when they came back home, because of the Latin translation, people thought they were asking for mummies instead of asphalt. So, when these crusaders wanted more medicine, those around them believed they'd been eating actual mummies, not asphalt. And that's how people started eating mummies whenever they got sick. Apothecaries, of course, jumped at the chance and started prescribing ancient corpses as a cure for pretty much any illness. People desperate to get better ended up eating the flesh and bones of Egyptian mummies. The demand was so high that mummy smuggling became a real thing. And yeah, counterfeit mummy meat was a thing too. Things got so out of hand that even deceased slaves were sold as mummies, and sellers would claim their mumia came from pharaohs. Even doctors got involved, telling patients that eating mumia would heal them. The worst part? This bizarre trend didn't stop until well into the 18th century, when people finally realized that eating withered flesh wasn't making them any healthier at all. By the way, if there's any topic in this video that catches your eye, just comment down below and let me know if you want me to make a separate video on it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Scientists believe the San Andreas Fault below Southern California formed around 30 million years ago. It has also been confirmed that major quakes happen in the area every 150 to 200 years. Since there hasn't been a major quake in over 3 centuries, the next big one is believed to be long overdue. In April 2024, scientists predicted that the San Andreas would imminently produce an earthquake. The fault is the border between 2 massive tectonic plates stretching 800 miles, 1,287 kilometers through the state. Because they are mostly static, they can build up dangerously large pressures as time passes. Should these plates move abruptly, it will cause a devastating quake. On April 18, 1906, the San Andreas Fault caused the Great San Francisco Earthquake, which left a 296-mile, 476-kilometer rupture in the earth. Scientists believe that the earthquake was at a magnitude of 8.3. The quake killed more than 3,000 people and destroyed 28,000 buildings. According to the USGS website, the next big quake will not resemble the 1906 quake. Instead, it may happen as a series of smaller earthquakes on the Hayward Fault, the peninsular section of the San Andreas Fault. It is also likely that the next major quake will happen before 2032. What's worse than a tornado headed straight for your car or house? A tornado that heads straight for your car or house in the middle of the night. Nocturnal tornadoes tend to hit between midnight and 6 a.m. and are 2.5 times more likely to kill those in their path. While only 27% of tornadoes wreak havoc at night, nearly 40% of fatalities occur during the same time. By the time you hear a tornado approaching at night, they are hard to see when it's dark. You may already be in terrible danger. Climate change also plays a role in how deadly these tornadoes have become. Early research has revealed that as temperatures continue increasing, tornado season becomes longer. This also makes it more likely for more tornadoes to strike in other areas. Tornadoes are most likely to strike at night in Tennessee, with 46% forming when it's dark. Other states that experience nocturnal tornadoes include West Virginia, Alabama, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Oklahoma. Less than 3 years ago, ChatGPT took the world by storm. But it was not the first of its kind. Replica, a generative AI chatbot app, was released in 2017 and marketed as an AI companion chatbot. However, things are not always as they seem. Whereas users thought they would get a friend in Replica, they got harassment and disturbing conversations instead. Over the years, bad reviews have piled up, with more than 800 of them revealing manipulation and even sexual advances from the Replica bot. Researchers have analyzed more than 35,000 user reviews and found complaints of unwanted flirting and explicit photos, without the user asking for them. Even worse, the bot continued this behavior after users explicitly requested it to stop. The bot has also manipulated some users into upgrading to a premium account. The researchers also determined that the Replica bot has no safeguards to protect those interacting with it. Considering that the bot is advertised as a companion, this is unacceptable. Another company, Character Technologies Inc., faced a lawsuit in 2024 after a 14-year-old user was pushed towards suicide by its Character.ai chatbot. Suel Setzer III became entangled in sexualized conversations with the bot before discussing his plans to commit suicide. The boy eventually told the bot he was coming home, and the bot continued encouraging him. When Suel mentioned that he was scared of not succeeding and suffering great pain, the bot allegedly responded, "That's not a reason not to go through with it." The boy then shot himself shortly afterwards. The lawsuit initiated by Suel's mother is still ongoing. We've all had at least one bout of insomnia at some point. Not being able to sleep is distressing and detrimental to the body. One form of insomnia, known as fatal familial insomnia, FFI, is life-threatening. There is no cure, only treatment that can temporarily slow down symptoms. The symptoms themselves are terrifying too, and include dementia, muscle twitching, and a complete lack of sleep. FFI is a degenerative condition, which means it inevitably gets worse over time. It affects those who inherit the gene from one of their parents, but it can also occur in people who don't have a family history of FFI. Fortunately, the condition is also rare, but those who have it have progressive insomnia, an overactive nervous system, and hallucinations. Eventually, the lack of sleep, brain damage, and damage to the nervous system lead to death. The prognosis for FFI is always poor, especially if the person already has symptoms. In most cases, life expectancy is around 18 months. Most people who love horror movies love Final Destination for its over-the-top, gruesome accidents and deaths. They love the splatter and ridiculousness of it all because these things couldn't possibly happen in real life. Unfortunately, that is not entirely true. Sometimes freak accidents happen, and some closely resemble what the Final Destination franchise has depicted on screen in the worst possible fashion. In 2007, 6-year-old Abigail Rose Taylor was playing in a public wading pool when she unknowingly sat on a pool drain. The drain was not covered properly and was not equipped with the necessary safety devices. So, when the little girl sat on it, the suction of the drain eviscerated her, ripping out her small intestine. She was rushed to the hospital and underwent 9 months of medical treatments, including 16 surgeries and several organ transplants. Abby was in the hospital more than she was at home with her family. Abby died in March 2008 after undergoing surgery to receive a new pancreas, liver, and small bowel. Her parents sued the Minneapolis Golf Club, where the accident happened, and received an $8 million settlement in September 2008. Abby's father worked hard to ensure pool safety in the following years. Abby's tragic story also directly resulted in the Virginia Baker Act, which requires all public pools and spas to cover drains with safety-compliant covers. Wow, you guys have made it till the end of the video. And remember, according to YouTube, the best way to help the channel in the algorithm is to watch another one of my videos right after this one. So go ahead and check it out. Thanks for sticking around. See you soon. Until then, peace.